Stephen, this is Hayley, and welcome to Spam Filter. So, Spam Filter is our new segment on the Cancer Research Demystified channel, and it's where we're going to dissect some of the internet cancer myths that are out there. So, I'm talking about viral videos, memes, threads on social media, things where people talk about aspects of cancer and cancer research that may or may not be true. So, we're going to give you our expert opinion, and we're going to help you to figure out what is fact and what is fake news.
So, we need to introduce you to someone who's going to help us. This is Ben Simpson.
Hey guys.
He's a PhD student in our lab, so he's working towards his doctorate in cancer research, actually. And he is really good online at seeing these things and busting the myths and finding really good sources for people and sharing information online. So we thought he is the perfect person to have here.
So this first episode is going to be on one of the most hotly debated topics on the internet, very frequently misconstrued, and a lot of misleading information out there. Now, Ben, we know you have really strong opinions on this topic.
It's true, yeah.
But we're going to hold you accountable, we're going to fact check your sources, we're going to play devil's advocate a bit and make sure that we believe what you're saying.
Come at me, bro.
So the topic is cannabis. So, can cannabis help with your cancer symptoms? And perhaps even more controversially, can it be a cure for cancer?
Okay, let's start with some science, right? Cannabis, cannabinoids, CBD, or what are these different types? What are the words? What are we talking about?
Okay, so when we talk about cannabis, we talk about the recreational drug, as most of you will know. But when we talk about cannabis, we talk about mainly two things. So one, we talk about THC. That's the active chemical ingredient which actually gets you high, has the sort of analgesic effects, right?
So that's in everything.
That is in only sort of the raw and processed form of cannabis.
Okay.
You can purify the actual THC part if you want in the lab. But then the other thing is what we call cannabidiol or cannabinoids, CBD oil.
Okay.
These are compounds that are derived from cannabis.
Okay.
So this can be lots of different biological molecules, but yeah.
And they aren't the bit that...
They are the bit that gets you high, basically.
So THC gets you high.
Yeah.
But
and
a
one
cannabis
important
plant
distinction
has, like a leaf, will have so many different chemicals in
and
it.
oils and all sorts.
So you can extract different parts of that.
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And I think an important distinction for this is that THC, currently in the UK and a lot of parts of America, is illegal.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part that's illegal. The actual oils and hemp products are totally fine. So.
Okay.
Okay, so the big question, a lot of people out there claim it, does cannabis cure cancer?
Well, actually, no, it doesn't cure cancer.
So there have been studies there, right?
Oh, they have, yeah. So there have been studies, in fact we've been looking at cannabis en masse probably since the 1970s. There's actually been over 10,000 different studies on cannabis in a medical context, in disease.
So we're talking proper scientific studies here, like they've been published in journals. They're science, we respect them, we'll read the papers, it's work, it was scientists who did the work.
They're definitely legitimate studies.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Generally, a lot of them have focused, especially, let's say, talk about cancer, because that's what we're talking about. They've been focusing on cancer cells in a dish, primarily. Okay. So we're talking about in cells, cancer cells, whether they're from a patient or derived from a patient or a mouse. And that's where they've been focusing.
Okay, so we have a video about cancer cells. If you guys want to look at it, it goes through what we do with them. They're essentially cells removed from their context, so no body at all. They grow on plastic. They just grow and grow and grow, and we look after them in the dish. They're very useful, but they have limitations. Check that out, or continue listening. So these studies, what types of cannabis are in these studies?
Okay, so primarily they're looking at THC, so the actual part that gets you high. There's been a few though on cannabinoids and sort of synthetic cannabinoids as well. And they mostly focus on reducing cell proliferation or growth of cancer cells.
Okay, so they don't kill the cells?
No, and I think that's an important distinction, that sometimes they
like when we use chemo drugs in the lab.
Yeah, I'm like, to be honest, I can kill a cancer cell in a dish pretty easily.
They're
like,
quite sensitive. Yeah.
literally with air, with tap water, like not
Changing
even
the
kidding.
CO2,
That will
yeah.
kill them.
Yeah.
So if you're only slowing growth with this, that's not very impressive to a scientist, frankly.
Yeah, it's not. And again, you've got nothing else in the dish other than cancer cells. So again, you want normal cells in there,
Yeah.
and the idea of something being selective is totally different.
Yeah. But everything starts there. Chemo would have started there. You have to test everything on a cell. But you then go on to other models. So we're talking more complex models with extra cells. We're talking patients even. So
Yeah, you want a clinical trial, right?
Right. Anything like that?
Yes, so there has been one instance,
Okay.
actually so far, of testing cannabis in humans. That was in glioma, which is like a type of brain cancer. And these people are late stage, they kind of ran out of options, so they've kind of looked at other treatments. But in this setting, it was looking at just whether or not it's safe. So these patients had no control group, so they're not comparing this to another treatment. They were just looking at, one, is it safe? And we smoke it,
Yeah.
We know
kinda
it's safe.
so we know it's
Yeah.
safe.
Millions
People know
of
it's.
people have checked that
No
it's
one's
safe.
gonna know. It doesn't
I mean,
really-
this was different. They did deliver it to the brain, but essentially we know the THC in the blood is fairly safe. And again, in the literature itself, they say there was an effect in some patients. That's completely true. There was.
Yeah.
They actually found, again, maybe a slowing of cell growth, but they had nothing to compare it to.
Yeah.
And you see that with a lot of things. Like everyone's cancer is so different, and we're beginning to understand that now. Some people's was waxes and wanes, and it was so responsive to.
And I think that's something we can help you guys out on, because if I wasn't a scientist, I would have gotten caught out by the fact that it truly did slow cancer growth, and maybe we can help you by pointing out that actually you need to compare that to a placebo, to something that doesn't slow growth, and actually see the difference. So it's those subtleties of trials that you need to kind of check out.
Of course, is your bottom line. Why do you care about slowing cancer growth in the first place? You want to hope that by slowing its growth, you live a little bit longer, or a lot longer, or the cancer goes away completely. In this case, again, it's not the right trial to compare it to, but this case, these people died in the amount of time you'd expect them to die with this type of cancer.
Right. Plus, anytime you're looking at a new therapy, you want to see lots and lots of trials.
You do, exactly. So I'm not saying that it's not worth looking into.
Yeah.
I mean, anything that slows growth, great.
For sure. It's interesting, but it's not there yet. If I got cancer tomorrow, I should not go out and try cannabis,
No.
because we're just not there yet. Is that fair?
It's totally fair.
Research is ongoing.
Yeah.
So, we've done cancer, a cure, it's not. But more often, actually, we're seeing cannabis for symptoms of chemotherapy, nausea,
Yeah.
less stress, kind of helping with pain. What about that?
So I'd say definitely that's probably the strongest argument for it. There's a lot of evidence that shows that maybe it helps with the nausea from chemotherapy, especially.
Okay.
I would say there's definitely strong evidence for that.
So we're talking human trials, the proper drugs,
Yeah.
these have been done better.
Yeah, definitely.
They're more, robust, they've got the right controls, as we were talking.
And is that drugs made from the chemical components of cannabis, or is that smoking the illegal drug?
So this is an important distinction. In these studies, it's usually the actual chemical component THC.
Okay,
So-
so not oils.
Exactly. No,
That's right.
not oils. This will be THC. And again, if you're looking at evidence, smoking things isn't a great way, generally, of getting things into the body.
No?
Yeah.
Well, you're burning things as well, which
You are.
is
It's a
an
chemical
unreliable
irritant.
source of producing new chemicals.
Exactly. There's more evidence, if anything, that it's more likely to irritate your lungs, cause respiratory issues, especially in older people. So again, you've got to be careful with just smoking it.
Okay.
But THC, if you look at just the science, actually great for nausea, and as an analgesic, if you're trying to reduce opioid dependency, great.
Okay.
And I think in that context, it's really quite useful.
But they're still on the cusp of finishing those trials off, or
Yeah, there's a lot of work I think that needs to be done to be able to say whether or
But
not
it's
people
looking
should be taking this.
promising?
Exactly, it is looking promising. It definitely, and it's more beautiful.
Okay, but back to the cure thing. So if cannabis isn't a cure, then why do people say that it is?
Well, usually it's the same reason as everything. It's money. And don't get us wrong, some people will genuinely believe in this stuff, and of course, like I said, there's a lot of people selling misinformation on it. Okay.
And a lot of people who want to believe what they want to believe at that point, if they're diagnosed.
So one example is a website I came across. Hopefully we'll be able to put it up on screen in a second. So this website is showing scientific studies that prove that cannabis cures cancer.
Okay.
Now, again, if you look at the studies, they don't cure cancer. They show what we've already discussed.
But that's really sneaky because they're showing good resources and just hoping you don't click the link.
Yeah,
right?
and in fact, more often than not, you might even click the link. For example, they put the human study first. The only human study, they put it first. And they're hoping that if you do click the link, you're going to see a boring page full of text. The sort of boring stuff that we've got to troll through all day. I'm just saying.
It's our lives.
It's black and white text in very hard to read language. No one's gonna pay attention to that. Why would you? Why would you read through the whole thing? And they're definitely relying on the fact that you won't know how to interpret the results. So that's one thing. And now you wonder to yourself, well, why would someone do that? Like, why would someone present it? Well, if you look to the corner of the website, oh, what's that? Is that a cart? They sell T-shirts, oils. But again, we're not talking about a company that's manufacturing the same oil as in the study.
Yeah.
We're talking about these are largely raw, unprocessed oils that they don't tell you what's in there, which chemical molecules are in there. Again, the ones that you might want might be in there.
Yeah. Like a leaf or whatever has so many different chemical components in it. Like the bit that's doing the job isn't necessarily, the bit that they're selling you in an oil.
And if this was something that doesn't interfere with your medication, it was something that you could get cheaply and it's readily available, then perhaps I'd be more lenient. But frankly, these people are charging a fortune for it. Selling
fear.
Yeah, they're working completely off fear. So you're looking at your loved ones who will be spending possibly hundreds of pounds on something that might not even contain the thing in the study. Never mind the fact that it might never ever make it through your digestive system, through your blood, and then into the tissue to get to the tumour.
If you ever want to try something, that's really new, really state of the art, if it even gets to this point, it needs to be in a trial. It needs to be with doctors.
Yeah, you need to check if you're going to buy something off the internet. Just for the love of God, talk to your doctor before you do it.
Yeah. And remember that they're not policemen. They want only what's best for you and your healthcare. Then they're not going to care. Talk to them first.
Okay, so what would you say to, it's not just companies online, it's people saying, my mate, my sister, my brother benefited from this massively, it really works, please try it.
This is one of the things that you will have to deal with a lot. So this is what we call anecdotal evidence. Okay?
I do see it a lot.
Yeah.
I see that a lot in cancer support groups on Facebook.
If they're real, they could just be the advertisers saying these things. But on some occasions, they're genuine people who hold these beliefs.
Well, when we look at a scientific study, we make sure that the group we're looking at, they've all had the same treatment, they are similar ages, they've had similar past recurrences of cancer. When someone has an anecdote, we can't verify any of that.
No.
We also don't know whether they've actually had another treatment on the side of it. If they've taken something, like an actual drug, and then they also take this on the side, and the actual drug had a latency period where it wasn't working, all of a sudden they start taking drug oil X, and their cancer gets better, they might attribute that to the thing that's not working.
Totally understandable.
Which is totally understandable. And then you've got, of course, the alternative, that people are part of these companies who are trying to make money from you. And they will say, my name's Leslie, and I took it for 6 weeks instead of my chemotherapy, my tumour disappeared. You've got no way of verifying this on the internet. And that is the real problem with anecdotal evidence. If you really want to go for anecdotes, I've got plenty of my own. I'm just saying...
We know where he's going with this. This is his favourite anecdotal.
I'm just saying, if you're talking about cannabis in the context of cancer, Bob Marley is famous for smoking cannabis, okay? This guy's photoed smoking it during gigs.
It's part of their religion.
Exactly. It's a cultural thing. And the thing is, he actually died of melanoma.
which is skin cancer.
Exactly. So if you think you can outsmoke Bob Marley, if you think that is a better anecdote, then go for it. But it's just not the case. So I reckon this one completely busted.
Busted.
Well, busted for the cure, but hope for managing
Possibly not
symptoms in the
for the
future.
Yeah, I think this is it's a really interesting molecule. It's something that people should definitely continue to study. But right now, I think it's definitely a big question mark, and it's not something that people should jump to lightly.
So this was our first episode of Spam Filter. We hope you enjoyed it, but every time that we do one of these segments, we're going to leave you with 3 key messages, so one from each of us. So firstly, Hayley.
Okay, so check your sources. Get multiple sources if you can. Check where they're from. Do you know them? Like, where did they originate from? Don't just trust that initial meme you see.
Check your sources' biases. Are they trying to sell you something? They're usually trying to sell you something. Do they stand to benefit from giving you misinformation? If there's no benefit to them, then chances are they're not likely to lie to you.
Right, and finally, your first port of call for all of these things, all of these questions, is your clinical team. So if you're sick, or a family member or loved one is sick, ask your doctors about it first. If you've heard something online, just run it by them. They're the only one that know about your disease, they're the only one who've seen your test results, so don't believe your cousin's cousin's cousin over your doctor.
And don't believe us.
Yeah, don't believe us either. Believe your clinical team, or at least let them point you towards good sources.
Yes. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed our first ever episode of Spam Filter. If you have any comments or anything you want busted by them, put it in the comments below. So thank you for watching.